want to rock! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Rockapedia. This is Music Man Mike, along with Dylan, the producer, and Joe Santiago, live from Richmond, Virginia. How are you, Gypsy Joe?
I'm doing all right. So I had a long night last night, so kind of getting up and around.
Long night last night. Well, that's nothing to do with weather, is it? Because we don't want to talk about weather.
No, that was the night before. We won't get into that.
Thunderstorms or anything weird like that. Gotcha.
No.
All right. Hey, we did not do the show last week. A lot of stuff going on. We had some people out of the office, so we were shorthanded here. Tried to reschedule several times last Tuesday, a week ago today. It didn't work out, but that's fine because now we've got a hodgepodge of stuff to go over. Just to let everybody know out there, all you drivers that watch the show, all of you viewers that we have, I don't know how many of you there are. I got different numbers. They're what are they? Concerning numbers. I get big ones, I got little ones. I don't know how many of you are out there listening and watching the show. But anyway, the goal is
Can't trust the polls.
Huh?
Can't trust the polls. Pollsters, don't believe them, man.
Yeah, the goal is to try to get a special guest on here every week. And I know we're probably not going to do that every week, but that's our goal. So, for instance, I've got coming up in the near future, I've still got Ricky Stav in the background. He's going to come on here. He's fighting cancer right now, so it's hard for him to pinpoint him down and get him on a show. I've got Kelly McLeod. Kelly's getting a new album put out next month, September. I'm not sure the release date, actually, but she definitely wants to come on the show. She's talked to me several times. And Michael Jerome was the drummer. Michael Jerome from Better Than Ezra and other places. Was the drummer on that particular album. So we're gonna have Kelly on here. Try to spice up the show. The number one thing we really want to do is get more drivers on here. So drivers that are listening to the show, Brian Winsauer, Lonnie Payne, Donna Kaysen. We don't have Andy Hallgrath with us anymore. She's moved on to a different job, but I bet you she still listens to the show. And Andy Hallgrath is one of those people that I've had on many times. Talked to her about music. We share music. She downloaded a Chris Cornell CD for me and brought it to me one time. So, I mean, there's just a lot of people here that work in the business that are interested in music just like we are. But we want to become more driver inspired on this show. So we talk about what we talk about because what we talk about with passion, and it's what we love. It's who we love. It's what we know. We don't try to cover stuff that we don't really understand. There's just no sense in it. But yeah, so this week we're coming up on a week's old episode. Should have been covered last week, but that's okay. You're never too late. One of the things we talked about, Joe, last week was the Pearl Jam song, Jeremy.
Which I didn't take the time to look into, but I do know a little bit about it. And that it's about, I think it was a kid in Texas that shot up his class. And he shot himself in class, didn't he?
Yeah, he just shot himself. So
yeah,
it was a kid named Jeremy Wade Dell, Delle. And on January the 8th, 1991, he was in school and high school student, Richardson, Texas. He got sent to the principal's office by his teacher for some reason or other. I'm not sure what exactly it was. To get some kind of a hall pass or some kind of excuse or something and bring back. Well, he left and he came back. He didn't come back with the excuse or the pass that he was asked to. He said, I went and I got what I really wanted to get, and he put the gun to his mouth and he shot himself in front of his whole class. So,
jeez.
So the singer for Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder, was actually in the process of writing a song about that subject. But he was writing about a kid that he went to school with, and I believe this kid's name was Brian. He was writing a song about Brian, disturbed kid he went to school with. Maybe he picked on him. Maybe he was a bully, whatever. He was writing that song. Then he read the story about Richardson, Texas, and he kind of coordinated those two things together and made it more of a topic, and that's where Jeremy came about. But yeah, In July of 1995 is when Jeremy made his debut in the United States, and yeah, it was MTV didn't want to play the video; it was too violent. They rejected it, and eventually they kind of succumbed to, well, we have to because people like the song, and they started playing it. And it was just kind of one of those things. I mean, MTV went through those periods where, like Michael Jackson. Do we play black music? Do we play?
Yeah, they were going through a thing with hip hop was happening too, and you would see really like weak stuff on there. Like there wouldn't be anything. You would see MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. Like that's what you would see on MTV as far as like quote unquote black music went.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, it was kind of that transition thing where people said, well, it's MTV, it's rock music, so why are we playing this? Why are we playing that? Well, I mean, the rock changed. I mean, and Aerosmith and Run DMC did their thing. You can't not play that. I mean, that was awesome. That was kind of the bridge that gapped into what we know today as um, I don't even know what you call it, but it definitely changed history as far as music and
Yeah,
what
it
was okay.
didn't not necessarily just a musical blend either of like hip hop and rock or whatever you want to call it, but like it also like bridged a little bit of gap between like what white people listen to and what black people listen to, and people started getting into each other's music more than they did because when that Run DMC Aerosmith song came out, white people didn't go to black shows, black people didn't go to white shows.
Right.
It's not like it is now. Like now everyone goes to each other's shows. It's just because they like the music and they don't care about all the other crap in between.
It's very integrated now,
Yeah,
and we didn't grow
like
up with
like
that.
when I went to Lollapalooza, that was weird too. You would have like body count and like there was Ice Cube. You would have like stuff like that, and you're just like people loved it. Like it wasn't a thing anymore. Where it was just like when we went to NWA, we were only three white guys there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the way it was. It's not
That's
like
what
that anymore.
that's what we grew up with. I mean, it was
Yeah,
it was
that was
definitely segregated. If you went to a black show, it was all black people. If you went to or not all black people, so to speak, but minorities, maybe Mexicans were there, but not us. Not
yeah.
I mean, we're
No,
we're half
there's like a
Mexican, but
2 to 3% white crowd at those shows,
yeah,
and vice versa. Like I would go to like when you would go see like bands like Van Halen, you would see like probably 2 or 3% like African American there.
yeah.
It just didn't. It wasn't a thing.
Do you remember the sound guy Tony, Black Tony, who used
Tony.
to run sound for?
Yeah,
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 Tony was one of those guys. He was definitely
yep,
a hard rock guy. He did all the shows at the
yeah.
Cotillion. I mean, all over Wichita. I mean, Tony was. I still got his business card in my wallet. I'm pretty sure. But Tony was. Yeah, he made the rounds for sure. So he was no colors barred. Tony. I mean, he didn't care. He liked all kinds of music, and that was cool.
Yeah, and that's what came on later. Like when MTV was like about the time that Jeremy came on, that's when they were going through that whole phase of how are we going to like integrate all this. They had Yo MTV Raps, and they just wanted to restrict it to that at first. And I was like, no, like you got to play it throughout the day and the night, and like you can't just. So they did, and yeah, so MTV was changing around that time.
Yeah, and people look back. I mean, I think last month, sometime last month was the 40-year anniversary of MTV coming out,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
I don't know that there's really a way that you could have saved that network. I think they did everything they
Nah,
could. Now the reality shows that that didn't help them whatsoever. It helped them at the time with ratings, but in the end, it did not help so much. And now they're gone. There's no such
right.
thing as MTV as we know it. But I think it ran its course. Really, I think it did what it was supposed to do, and that was it. I don't think you can. It's not a lifelong endeavor.
Well, and now they have satellite stations that you can get on your TV that are like just one channel's rock videos, one channel's 80s videos, one channel's hip hop. It's just like all these, country channel. It's all videos. So MTV really doesn't have a purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Like there's no need for it because now you can pick and choose what you want to listen to or watch on videos. It doesn't go to YouTube if you want to see something.
Yeah. Well, I would say if anything, it inspired a lot of what's going on to this day. You know what I mean? MTV did a great job as far as inspiring what we watch and what we do and what we listen to. Like you said, the satellite channels that we have access to. Those all came from what MTV used to be, and there's still a need out there. It just has to be targeted more or less. It's not wide stream anymore. Yeah. It's just like, what do you want to watch? So talking about the segregated concerts, the white, the black, all that kind of stuff. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, and I finally did finish watching the Woodstock 2 documentary.
I couldn't find it. I don't have a streaming service for that one.
It's on Hulu.
I have to go by memory on this one.
It's on Hulu. So
what? The Woodstock 2 one is?
Yeah, it's on Hulu. Isn't it, Dylan?
To my understanding, I thought the Woodstock one for like '99 Woodstock was on HBO because that's where I watched it and it was crazy.
Maybe it's HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't have Hulu. I have Hulu, but I don't have HBO.
Okay, HBO Max. I thought it was Hulu. But anyway, at the end, when it's all said and done, over with, and even the last 45 minutes to an hour of it, it's just depressing. I mean, what a terrible job they did. They did so horrible. I mean, for people trying to make money, and I get it. They had a great idea. And then let's go back to what we were talking about, the segregation. So it's 95% white people there. And they're rapping with Fred Durst. They're rapping with the Korn guys. They're rapping. I mean, it's just like, no. And you're violent, you're angry, and you're mad. And you know what their biggest mistake was? They didn't give the kids a break. They ran music 24/7. It's not like at 10 o'clock p.m. they shut down, it's time to go to bed. They kept playing all night long. So now they're sleep deprived. They're crazy out of their minds. Yeah.
Well, okay. Let me, from somebody who goes to those kinds of things and they do have music all night, totally your decision to go to music all night. That you did just because the scheduling says it doesn't mean you have to. Mm-hmm. I think the biggest problem with Woodstock '99 was that the lineup was just bringing in a certain crowd that was going to be violent and did not stay within like the Woodstock ideals, quote unquote, the Woodstock ideals, right? So you don't have Fish at this concert. It's like Korn and it's Limp Bizkit, completely different end of the spectrum here.
No Fish but Korn.
Yeah.
Well, and
some Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the funny thing too. Red Hot Chili Peppers. So the guys running the show came out on stage several times and talked to these guys, said, "Hey, we're losing control. Fred Durst, can you help us out here and say something to the crowd?" And he didn't. He let them ride.
Yeah, give me something to break.
Yeah, exactly. He let them ride the plywood, surfboarding plywood through the crowd. He didn't stop it. And then the Red Hot Chili Peppers came on, and they came to Anthony Kiedis and they said, "Hey, we're losing control. Look at the fires out there." And they played Let me Stand Next to Your Fire by Jimi Hendrix. I mean, they were just, that's not my job, man. I'm a rock and roller. I'm a musician. Your job is to control the crowd. I'm going to play music. That's what they did. They just ignored the situation, which I kind of get it. I do.
Yeah. Dylan's right though. You can't like put all that kind of music together. I mean, there's 9 Inch Nails also. I mean, and I love 9 Inch Nails, but it's like there's a lot of anger in that. So there's like this anger and like this, like, I don't know, there's this whole vibe there that is definitely not a Woodstock vibe.
Yeah.
Not like you start off with Richie Havens and like.
No, there there was nothing mellow about it whatsoever. And as it progressed, as the days progressed, it got more and more violent and out of control. I mean, now you're talking about the girls getting groped and sexually abused and all that kind of stuff was happening in the tent city. It was just out of control. These guys were, I mean, I think back to that time. I was in the restaurant business at that time, and I knew some of those guys that could have fallen into that category very easily. And I can see them doing that kind of stuff. I mean, it was just kind of a weird period where everybody was angry and upset. And I don't think that politics were a part of it. I just think that those kids were lost in a way. They were just lost. And when you and when your guidance is Corn and Limp Bizkit, you're even more lost.
When Junko jeans is your fashion statement,
Jinko, yes,
your generation has an issue.
I forgot about the Jinkos.
Yes, there's some problems.
Yeah, it was just a weird time period, and so
it was a weird time.
Not to point blame at those guys that set the whole thing up because they had great intentions, but it just didn't turn out that way. And then there was even plans for Woodstock 3. They got shot down because of obviously what happened at Woodstock 2. And they told us that no, we're not doing that.
The name has been tarnished forever. There will be no more Woodstocks.
We're not doing that. But yeah, so I did finally get to see that. That was pretty cool. It was enlightening. If you were alive and living in that time period, you had no idea that those things were going on. It was just a concert. It was a 3-day concert. It was a festival, But now to look back at this documentary they put so much work into, it was terrible. I mean, it was just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was.
Yeah, and also like they said that they were selling like bottled water for like $8 a bottle or something, and like people were upset. That's a lot of money for a bottle of water.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean,
doing stuff like that. They didn't have enough facilities for the people to use the bathroom, and like I've heard nightmare stories about it.
There was lots of poo stories for sure.
I will say this though, I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan. I never have been. But they played Lollapalooza. It was also the anniversary of Lollapalooza last week. They played Lollapalooza, and if you haven't seen the video, you should watch it. It's pretty impressive. They were actually like, I was amazed. I was like, these guys are really killing it. I don't like Limp Bizkit, but they put on a good show.
So every song?
Yeah. I mean, I think I have more of a sense of humor about it now. Like I used to hear it and I'd be like, God, it's terrible. I hate it. But now, like, I don't know, that show I saw, the reunion show, they were killing it, man. I'm telling you, you should check it out.
Well, I mean, I've never been against them so much, so to speak. I just never was a fan. So I do get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not my kind of music.
I'm sure on your recommendation, if it's good, it's good. I believe that, but I don't know. It just was I was older then. The guys that I knew, that I worked with, or that I knew that loved them or were fans of them, were 10 years younger than me. So I mean, I don't have nothing against them. I know they're all solid musicians, just like Korn. The guys in Korn, same thing, solid musicians. I guarantee you, 100%. But just to be
like
a fan
Slipknot's
of them,
the same thing. Great musicians, and I'd love to see him. That drummer was amazing. Like, he was a great drummer, and like, the music. It's nothing I would listen to at home, but I wouldn't mind going to see it.
Well, and who was the singer? Jonathan what?
Jonathan Davies was the singer of Korn.
Yeah, and so even in this documentary, he states he talks about it. He didn't feel good about it either. He knew things were going right, and he always felt like that Fred could have done something to help control the crowd a little bit, and he didn't do it. But Jonathan talks about, we were uncomfortable. We went out and did the show, but we knew things weren't right. So it's just one of those things that went bad, and it was never going to get better. And by the end of the 3 days or whatever it was just a mess, But yeah, so I am glad I got to see that documentary, finish watching it. It brought me back to thinking about a few things. What did when we were younger and we went to festivals as that kind of sort of festival. It wasn't 3 days. It was like a nighttime or a daytime deal or somewhere. But you and I went to the Texas Monsters of Rock.
Yes,
We
Monsters of Rock.
We went to Dallas to see the Monsters of Rock, and that was Van Halen headlining. The Scorpions, which I do not remember for some reason.
I remember the Scorpions.
Why don't I remember the Scorpions?
Didn't Metallica play that show?
Metallica was there too. Yeah, it was Van Halen headlining, the Scorpions, Dokken, Metallica, and Kingdom Come opening up the show.
Kingdom Come.
Yeah, it was.
And they were terrible.
It was July of 1988. Yeah, Kingdom Come. Their claim to fame was they sound like Led Zeppelin.
That was their claim to fame. They sound like someone else.
Yeah, but we went.
Awesome.
I mean, and here's my question. Number one, I got written down. I got 3 things written down. July '86, Texas Jam with Van Halen. I went to with Craig Sweden. July 1988, Monsters of Rock with Van Halen. I went with you and Brad Watterson. And then Arrowhead Stadium. I don't have the date and time written down on that. But both those Texas shows in July. Who wants to go to the Cotton Bowl in July?
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember ending that night. Do you remember the wall around the Cotton Bowl, the inside of the Cotton Bowl, and they had the little water spouts?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like I would just sit by those water spouts and just like splash myself. Like by the end of the night, I was sitting against that wall. I didn't even care anymore.
But remember.
But I also remember Sammy Hagar not being able to sing that night.
Yeah.
And when they left the stage, he was like, I'm really sorry. I apologize. And we're gonna put on a free show next time we play here.
And he did.
And like a year and a half later, they played a free show.
And if you go to YouTube, you can find it. They played downtown Dallas. They set up a stage and they had a huge crowd downtown Dallas, and played a live show to make up for the show they played at the Monsters of Rock where he couldn't sing. Yeah, he lost his voice. But I just mainly remember it being so dang hot. And like I said, that was '88. So 2 years earlier, I had went to the actual, when they called it the Texas Jam. It was still called the Texas Jam when I went in '86, and it was Van Halen headlining. Believe it or not, for some reason, right before Van Halen was Loverboy. That must have been the peak of their career. Crocus.
Ace of Eyes.
Yep. Crocus, Keel, Dio. And then opening the show that day was Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Wow, how the mighty have fallen. What the 80s did to those bands.
Oh my gosh. So I remember, I'll tell you a story about that day real quick. It was cool because, well, several things happened. A bunch of things happened. It was a cool day. But we drove down from Wichita to meet Craig, who had tickets and backstage passes for us to go to the show, thanks to Eddie. And we show up at the backstage ticket booth and check in Craig Sweden +2. And they said, oh, no, your tickets are gone. So somebody checked in as Craig Sweden and stole his tickets.
Nice job.
Yeah. So now here we are. We drove all the way down from Wichita. I was like, what are we going to do now? Seriously? And he goes, well, I'll have to get a hold of Ed. I need to call Ed. Let me see if I can't get a hold of Ed or get a hold of somebody that can call Ed and we can get this all taken care of. I said, okay, cool, whatever. So we hung out. This is the days before cell phones, obviously. So he had to actually find a pay phone or somebody that had connection to a phone. And he said, yeah, as soon as they get here, we'll be okay. He'll take care of us, I promise. I said, okay. And while he's on the phone and doing all that kind of stuff, I hear, I said, what is that? He goes, what? I said, Eddie's here. Listen, he's practicing right over there in that room. Craig goes, what? I said, listen. Craig puts the phone down and goes, oh, shit, Ed's here. Oh, shoot, Ed's here.
Shoot.
I said, he's here. Just go tell somebody to go get him, and let's get the show on the road. So he does, and Eddie says, "Yeah, Craig Sweden +2." So we got tickets, we got inside, everything's cool. And
did you go backstage and see 3 doppelgangers of you guys?
Actually,
walking around with your tickets.
We saw Stephen Piercy, who was not on the bill, but from Los Angeles, California, hanging out in Dallas, Texas, in 105-degree heat with black leather pants on.
Yes.
I'm like, dude,
It's commitment.
Are you serious right now? Because we're all burning up. We got shorts on. But
Man's committed.
So the coolest part was that once we got backstage and we're looking around, we could see the big crowd out front, and we look around the back, and there's empty seats in the back of the Cotton Bowl behind the stage. There's two guys sitting up there. And that was Dimebag Darrell and his brother Vinny.
Wow.
And nobody knew who they were.
That's pretty good.
Nobody knew who they were.
Of course.
Because it was 1986, and they hadn't made it big yet. But I knew who they were because I remember seeing their albums at like First Time Around in Wichita and Argus Tapes and Records and all that kind of stuff. So I knew who those guys were, but nobody knew. It was like two guys sitting up there just checking everything out. They were just looking down and saying, "Oh, look, there's Eddie, there's Stephen Pierce here. They're just hanging out, just a couple brothers hanging out."
I was watching something on YouTube yesterday, and I saw an old Pantera video of when they had a different singer. And that guitar playing is still the same. Like, even in that band, like, you know, before they were, like, known as this heavy thrash band, like, that guitar playing's exactly the same. It's like, he's so good. Like, he just has a unique sound.
Well,
the guy was awesome.
That's one of the things we need to find somebody that's in the circle of Pantera, because they're right here from Fort Worth, and get them on the show. Let's talk about the band, because I mean, everybody here, I'm telling you what, you go out to any bar in town any night of the week and somebody's going to tell you a story about Dimebag Darrell. They hung out with him, they drank with him, I mean, he was just a regular guy.
There's another band that I think Dylan knows who they are. Power Trip. They're out of Dallas. But when I saw them, they reminded me a lot of Pantera.
They definitely take a lot from Pantera and also R.I.P. But yeah, Power Trip really, I think, is the most recent homage we have gotten from Pantera. I think they did thrash really well. So
I saw them, and all I could think was that guitar playing. All the solos were just like Pantera solos with like really high pitched scream at some point. Like, there's just, I don't know. There's the bass is like that kind of like almost like a funk soul drive of metal. It's crazy. They reminded me a lot of Pantera.
So that singer you're talking about before Phil came on board, that's I can't think of his name right now, but he's the blonde-headed guy, right?
I mean, they colored their hair a lot. I think he had brown hair in the video I saw.
I know who you're talking about. He eventually became the singer for Rail. Remember Rail?
Oh, I do remember Rail. Yeah,
he became the singer for that.
They out of Seattle.
Yeah, and he's still, that guy's still around. He's still in Fort Worth. I see him on Facebook all the time. He posts a lot of old pictures of him when he was in Pantera. But yeah, what's the bass player's name? Rex.
I can't remember.
Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
can't remember his name.
Yeah. So Rex, Vinny, Darrell, and this guy, the singer, they're all just Fort Worth guys. They're just right down the street here. I mean, it's, you know, their dad produced their first 3 albums, recorded the first 3 albums. I mean, just very family oriented type upbringing. I mean, very cool guys. And then they turned into what they turned into, but they made all the right decisions, obviously, to become who they were. What happened at the end? That's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother show that we'll touch on some other time. I'm not a big fan of Phil Anselmo because of what happened at the end. I think he had a lot to do with that. He was his anger, his hatred and stuff inspired somebody to do what they did. But that's just my opinion. It may not be true. It's just the way I feel.
It's a very political statement you just made. You get in trouble in Texas for saying those kinds of things.
I'm not scared of Phil. Although
I almost went to a Nick Cave show with him one time.
Phil?
But, yeah,
Phil lives He lives in New Orleans, right?
Yeah. There was a bunch of us that were gonna go, and he was gonna be one of them. And I hurt my leg that day, and I couldn't go to the show.
Probably a good thing. He didn't beat you up.
Yeah. I just can't see him in a Nick Cave show.
Well, no, that's good for him though. It kind of brings him down, mellows him out a little bit.
I don't know if he can do that. Might get violent.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on Rockapedia. My name is Music Man Mike. That is Gypsy Joe, straight out of Sweet Virginia. Dylan, the producer. Thank you, sir, for running the board today. And we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, rock channel. What do you want to say? I don't know. Good night. Good day. Adios.